Hello and good day everyone. My group will present about Google Incorporate. Before we start, let me introduce our group member. This group is led by Nur Batrishya Binti Ismail, and the other members are Mohamad Naeem Dildar, followed by Nurul Yasmin Binti Jamaludin, and lastly it's me, Fatin Nuraini Binti Faridon. In this video, we will cover 5 sections which are first, introduction. We will briefly explain about the company's background and the performance management system that Google used inside their company. Next, we will talk about the organization policies on general human resource management activities. For the third part, we will explain about performance management process. Then we will briefly explain on human resources procedures. And lastly, we will conclude our entire explanation. Let's start with the introduction. Google Incorporate is an American multinational technology company that specializes in internet-related services and products, which include online advertising technologies, a search engine, cloud computing, software, and hardware. It was founded by Larry Page and Sergey Brin on September 4, 1998. It was established 22 years ago at Menlo Park, California. Google's headquarters is now located at Parkway, California. Interesting fact is, Google is only a subsidiary company for Alphabet Incorporated. Moving on to performance management system. It is hard to Google the system for Google Incorporate even though it is about them. So we try to find it in Quora. In our research, we found that Google used OKR, which is stand for Objectives and Key Results. It is a goal system used by Google, and it is a simple tool to create alignment and engagement around measurable goals. It is to ensure everyone is going in the same direction. OKRs are frequently set, tracked, and re-evaluated quarterly. Google doesn't have standard OKR software for the entire organizations. However, some units use OKR tools that they internally develop within their teams, and some of them using OKR software like WorkPath. Next, Workday. In Quora, it mentioned that Google used Workday for their internal employees. Workday is set to replace parts of Google's homegrown human resource software. The software is developed to manage more than 50,000 Google employees.
Now let's move to the Google organization policies on general human resource management activities and specific focus on performance appraisal system. Firstly, Google has created an environment focused on inclusion. It makes sure that its employees' suggestions are valued. New products are first released internally, and employee suggestions are invited as a part of product development process. The staff provide its feedback on the usability and other features of a product before final release. Next is Google has managed a smart HR policy aimed to retain its talent pool. Fairness and equity are evident in all aspects of its HR management. Besides, the hiring process that Google follows is also very innovative and non-conventional. In a normal, conventional company, the process would involve interviews, academic background check, work experience in the industry and so on, but not in Google. Google has come up with a very innovative hiring procedure based on algorithms, making the entire process of hiring very scientific and data-driven. So, Google has an innovative hiring strategy, and hiring the right people is one of the core pillars of the HR policy of the company. So, Google company has a centralized hiring team comprising of specialists whose main vendor is to identify the best talent in the market and retain them. The branding team of Google also plays a very important role in attracting the best of the professionals to work for Google. Google also has HR business partners who perform the task of developing and implementing innovative programs and technology in place to identify and resolve end-user issues across the company. Furthermore, the company conducts regular surveys which are kept anonymous to understand the trends and identify the problem areas, which is called as 360-degree feedback. Next, we go to the Google Feedback Program. Google implements both formal and informal feedback system to evaluate their employees. For the formal feedback system, Google Employees Manager Report and individual reports are considered for the evaluation process. Its formal system of evaluation uses 360 degrees review method. This method gives a valuable approaching into how the person work and behavior. Besides, it often used for managers and supervisors. This method is also used when funding and time is available. So, these reviews are made twice a year, and this will reflect on the performance review with an employee's bonus. For informal feedback system, Google use casual conversation with a person regarding their performance, behavior, or interaction, such as regular checking of the performance. There is less pressure when it comes to informal feedback, and they are more comprehensive than a formal review which is performed twice a year. Next is Google Reward Program. Reward management is concerned with the formulation and implementation of strategies and policies in order to reward people fairly, equally, and consistently in agreement with their value to the organization. As the Google Reward system extensively make use of these formal and informal feedbacks, where the bonuses are based on the combined performance of the corporate, team, and an individual. In addition, there is a strong clan society within the organization and comparatively flat organizational structure, making the company more a fusion of the two reward system. For example, one of the Google most exciting employee rewards is its capability to offer stock option. Stock options are typically to exercising the option and purchasing stock at a given date or not. But Google has decided to take a more innovative approach to its reward. In this way, Google not only increased the value of every stock option given to its employees, but also enhanced its option valuation.
Next is performance management process. This process helps people to get into action so they can achieve plan and agreed result. This process briefly focuses on the element like what has to be done and how it should be done and what is to be achieved. And this process is equally concentrated on developing people, helping them to learn and giving them the support they need to do well. The managers and the individuals carry out performance and development plan jointly. This planning should lead to an agreement on what needs to be done by two parties. This process is concentrating on role profile, objective settings, measuring performance and assessment, performance planning, development planning. So for role profile, this section describes the function in terms of the key result area. Define what the role processor desire to know and be able to do, and how they are likely to behave in terms of behavioral competency and maintains the organization core value. This process will concentrate on raising the role profile, defining the core result area, defining the technical competency, defining the behavioral competency, and the core values. So for objective setting, this process describes the organizational goals or objectives to achieve over a period of time by department or by the individual. This will give ongoing role or the work objective, target, task, behavior expectation, values, performance improvement, learning, and integrating objective to manager and to the individual. Next is the measuring performance and assessment. This process is a significant model in performance management. This is the main finding for providing and generating feedback, and it identifies where things are going well or whether things are not going well, so that necessary action to be taken. Next is the performance planning. Performance planning is part of the performance management chain, which involve contract between the manager and the person on the presently needs to do to achieve objective, move up standard, improve performance, and to develop the required competency. It is also establish priorities, the key aspect of the job to which attention have to be given. The aim is to make sure that the meaning of the purpose, performance standards, and the competency as they apply to everyday work is understood. Lastly is a personal development planning. Personal development plans provide a learning action plan for which employees are responsible with the support of their managers and the organization. It may contain official training, but more importantly, it will include a wider set of learning and development action such as self-managed learning, training, mentoring, project work, job improvement, and also job enrichment.
Now, we move on to the last subtopic for Google Incorporate Performance Management, which is the human resources procedure used by Google. The HR procedures involved are the guidelines that are adopted by Google Incorporate in order to make sure the procedures are in line with their HR practices. This would thus ensure the effective performance management system. First and foremost, Google uses 5 types of procedures in their performance management system, namely performance reviews, self-evaluation, 360-degree feedback, calibration, and also outputs. Before we dive further into these elements, let me inform you first that Google mainly depend on big data to store performance information of their employees, since they are considered as the biggest tech company in the world. Hence, it is no surprise that they would store every information and data on a specific software on the internet. Now, let's start diving into detailed explanation about how the HR procedures are maintained at Google Incorporate. Google's annual performance review cycle consists of 2 parts: a preview, which is held by the end of the first semester, and a complete review that happens between October and November. Managers would then take 2 main things into account when evaluating the employees' performance ratings, which were the results obtained by the employees and also their behaviors. Google employees would then be asked to review each other according to the following criteria. The first criteria is Googliness, which is when the employee would be evaluated by their adherence to Google's values. The second one is problem solving, in which analytical skills that are applied by them into work situations are evaluated too. For the execution, employees would be evaluated by how they deliver high quality work without asking for a lot of assistance from managers and peers. Self-evaluation is the first step in the performance review, where the employee evaluates themselves into 3 criteria described earlier. The employees would then grade themselves according to 5 grades, ranging from never demonstrates all the way to always demonstrates. The employees are also invited to share examples of their actions to support their grades and highlight their main accomplishments for the last cycle in a text field limited to 512 characters. These accomplishments will appear in the next step, which is the 360-degree reviews to reviewing peers who will then be asked to assess their agreeableness with each other's grades and the reviewees' impact on their results, such as their behavior and the obtained results. Google's 360-degree review process serves as the purpose of giving managers a pure picture of their direct reports, since the reports may have a biased and restricted impression of the results and behavior of some employees. This is because some employees may be great at making up a very good reputation in their contributions when they fill out some self-reviews, for example. The process of this 360-degree feedback starts with a back and forth between employee and manager when they pick a representative among the peers to participate. The employees would then suggest a short list that is discussed with the manager while taking into account about how close the peer was to the employee's contributions and how well the peer can assess the employee's performance. Calibration is a very effective way in order to maintain the effective performance management system in Google, because this allows Google to remove the pressure that managers may feel from employees because they inflate ratings from the peer and self-reviews. So, this ensures that the end results reflect a shared expectation of performance, since managers often have different expectations of their employees and have to interpret performance standards in their own manner. So calibration diminish bias by forcing managers to justify their decisions to one another. It also increases perceptions of fairness among employees. This calibration process is when 5 to 10 managers would meet up with each other to evaluate employees on a large scale, where they would project these employees, discuss each individual, and agree on a fair rating. Calibration has always been a famous technique that is used by huge companies in order to ensure fairness in performance ratings. This is where bias ratings are identified and discounted for. Google has used this technique from a few years ago because they have observed that this technique would reduce aggregate time spent on employee evaluation by more than 25%. There are 75% of employees and managers that participated in this kind of assessment has agreed that this technique is very useful for them too, because the feedback measurement consisted of 3 variables such as strength, weakness, and comments on the employee's contribution. When the rating after the calibration process is revealed, managers would hold 2 meetings, one where feedback is given and another one where compensation and promotion decisions are communicated. These 2 meetings would be held at least a month far apart from each other in order to ensure the meeting's quality. This is because meetings that are far apart would encourage the employee to improve themselves based on the feedback given rather than just focusing on the compensation. This would also drive the employee to look forward to the second meeting, which is the compensation and promotion decisions, by improving their productivity.